here in the locker room with Billy Schweim, Scotty McKay on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Don't forget our Twitter poll question of the day, the Housemaster Home Inspection Twitter poll question of the day. Who will win the National League East? At Locker Room 973 or at 973 ESPN. Scooter, what time is it?
It's time for the Locker Room's push to get Brian Propp into the Hockey Hall of Fame, sponsored by Wolf Commercial Real Estate. Wolf Commercial Real Estate is a full-service commercial real estate brokerage and advisory firm specializing in office, retail, medical, industrial, and investment properties in southern New Jersey and the Philadelphia region. They provide a complete range of real estate services to commercial landlords, tenants, investors, developers, banks, commercial loan servicers, guided by their total commitment to their clients and their community. For all of your commercial real estate needs, please call WCRE at 856-857-6300. And Amoto Mio and La Finestra restaurants in Seattle would like to thank all of its loyal customers during this tough pandemic time and welcome their customers back to their outdoor dining. Call ahead for your reservations by going to their website, amotomioristorante.org. Also, be on the lookout for their newest restaurant in Avalon, Il Posto, located at 2418 Dune Drive, opening soon. Once again, for more info, go to their website at amotomioristorante.org for all their numbers and daily specials. Go in there and say hi to Eric and Joe. Great guys. I was there last night for dinner. Now, let's go to the Barb's Harley-Davidson Sports Hotline and welcome in former Flyers captain and Flyers Hall of Famer, Dave Poulin. Paulie, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing great this morning, Scotty. Billy, good to be on with you guys. It is a gorgeous morning in Toronto. The sun is shining bright, and I've already tucked 18 holes under the belt.
I got to ask, how'd you do?
You know, with all the different strangeness of this year, our range just opened at our course. So I hadn't had a chance to get to the driving range once this year, and I love going to the range. I'm a self-made golfer. I'm not a lesson guy, Scotty, so I'm a self-made guy. So I need to go to the range and move my left foot a little bit, move my right foot a little bit. So despite the fact that I believe, I don't even want to throw this number out there, but I believe this morning was my 40th round of golf this year.
Wow.
And yeah, except I haven't been to the range, and I hated my game. So I got to the range yesterday. I spent 40 minutes there. And this morning I loved the game of golf again. It's such a great game. It comes and goes, but today it was there, and I had a very enjoyable morning.
Well, Paulie, we're excited about having you on the show. Scotty McKay and I decided to get this push for Brian Propp to get in the NHL Hall of Fame, and we've been having some of his former teammates and players talk a little bit about Brian. But in preparation for having you on, Scooter enlightened me with this. You were being interviewed on a podcast, and you were talking about, the game has changed so much. You were talking about how that players used to go to camp to get in shape, and now, of course, that has all changed where the players have to be in shape when they get to camp.
Oh, boy, it's a different world on that one. And I think the Flyers are really ahead of the times with that, and it was principally because of Pat Croce. And Pat Croce, our conditioning coach, was just well ahead of what everybody else in the NHL and the world of sports was doing. And so it was ramping up, and in 82-83 I had joined the team at the late year. And then that summer, my first year, of being an NHL player for a summer. So the first camp I went to was in 83. But some of the characters we had at that camp, guys, like seriously, we had a goaltender. We had a 2-mile run. That was the big psych out, the 2-mile run, 8 laps of the track. I lapped a goaltender 8 times, 8 times in a 2-mile run. Like, how do you lap a guy 8 times?
I hope he was wearing his pads.
Please. It was like NASCAR. They were getting in the way on the inside lane, and as the fast guys were coming around, you had to move the guys to the outside lane. And Frank Bathe, the cagey old defenseman, his strategy, run a lap, walk a lap. Run a lap, walk a lap.
And Paulie, was that when you guys had your shorts pulled up to your ears and remember the old shorts that were real tight to you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and no sleeves on the shirt. We were looking pretty sweet at that point, no question about it. But, we really were ahead of the rest of the NHL in terms of conditioning, and, those teams were notably well-conditioned teams, and they really were teams. I get asked so often about the Flyers. If I'm walking up to a group of guys and they'll say, oh, yeah, the old Flyers. And they talk about, I had a great chat with Stevie Larmer one day, and he said the first time he went there with the Chicago Blackhawks, he didn't think the rest of the guys were even going to get off the bus at the Spectrum.
That's great. Well, hey, Paulie, you came here and like you just said, the 83 season there at the end of the season, and quickly you became the captain of this team in 84, and you served that position until 90, until you got traded to Boston. But you got to play with Brian Propp. Obviously, this is what we're talking. We'd love to have you actually back on and talk about your incredible way that you got into the NHL, because that story is really funny. But we're trying to talk about Brian. You got to play with him not only on his line at times, but you got to also, you guys were the two of the best penalty killers in the league. What are your great memories about Brian, and why do you think he deserves maybe to get a shot to get into the Hall of Fame?
Well, he'll certainly be on the list to get a look, guys. And, you have guys that are first ballot guys. Jerome McGinley this year is a first ballot guy. And then behind that group, you have a lot of really talented hockey players who did special things and different things. And Brian Propp is one of those. And, in terms of left wings in the NHL through the 80s, he was one of the top. And I know he has individual records for that, but he was also one of the best left wings in the game. And whether that will be the impetus that gets him in, it's a pretty tightly held group. It's 18 voters, and you need a champion on that group. You need a champion to keep bringing the name up and to keep, basically putting him in with the other guys that are in the club. And that's what it is do you have comparable guys that are in with similar numbers, and Brian, 1,000-point scorer, a great long career, and sometimes longevity is looked at as a negative. Well, he played so long, of course he had 1,000 points. Well, playing long in itself is a,
right.
a Hall of Fame attribute.
That's an accomplishment.
The ability to stay healthy and he played for 5 Stanley Cup finals. Now, let's flip that switch right there and say, if 3 of those times he had won a cup, would he be in the Hall of Fame right now?
100%.
Because that's very, very possible. And, I went to the Final Four 6 times, guys, and 3 times to the Stanley Cup Finals. And that doesn't make me a loser. It makes me, it really doesn't. But that's, the first question I get asked is, did you win a cup? And I laugh and I say, I didn't, but it just so happened the team we were playing against had 7 Hall of Famers. And,
right.
Is that the luck of the draw? The fact that, you're matching up against one of the great dynasties of all time. And so sometimes that's a confusing stat. A couple of names, I was really encouraged when Guy Carbonneau got into the Hall of Fame, because Guy Carbonneau was a really, really great player who did something different. And he had much more of a defensive bent. I believe he won 3 Selkies, was one of the top defensive players in the game. And those are guys that normally don't get the attention because they don't have the big offensive numbers. But, that's not all what it is. You have to look at the whole body of work. And I'll tell you what hurts players from our era is the analytics of adjusted numbers. And I laugh when I say adjusted points, guys. I really do, because they say, well, Brian had, 1,000, points, but adjusted, they're only like 810. I'm like, well, okay, who came up with the adjusted formula?
Yeah,
and how does that work? Like, we played the era we played it. It wasn't our fault that we played in the 80s. I mean, that's when we played. And it's kind of funny because they showed that 87 Cup Finals against Edmonton on national TV in Canada this year, and they actually staggered it, I believe, to the exact same nights of the week that series was on. It was pretty cool. I got more calls. I think it was on in the States on the NHL Network as well, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, they played so numerous times during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, I've talked about my own career more in the last, 4 months than I have in the last 25 years, by the way. But when you look at that series, and, I talked to current players, and to a man, they said, we can't believe how fast that series was. Because the common thing for today's player to say is, oh, today's game is way faster, It it was a different time to play, and there were way more points. But today's game's way faster. Let me tell you guys, that '87 series held up for the speed of the game.
Absolutely.
That was a really, really fast series. And Brian was an integral part of that series, and he was our best offensive player. That was the year. What would he have had for points that year? 26 or 28 points in the playoffs?
28 points in that year. He was just behind Gretzky for the playoff lead. Well, and Bill, we're talking to Dave Poulin, former Flyer and former captain, and Flyers Hall of Famer. And it's funny you said, Poulin, that all these guys, would he have won 3 cups? Would he be in? Well, it's funny. A couple shows ago, we did a list of guys that are in the Hall of Fame that did not win a cup. Pavel Berry, Marcel Dion, Mike Gartner, Dale Hawerchuk, Phil Housley, Eric Lindros, Paul Correa, Cam Neely, Adam Oates. I mean, these are all number one great players, but they never won a cup. So if they're in, it shouldn't be a thing to hold Brian back from getting.
Sure. We also talked about guys that are in that their numbers pale in comparison. Clark Gillies came to my mind. I mean, just because he won 4 cups, there's been several other players that I don't know if they're getting just because of the fact that they won numerous cups.
Well, Bob Gainey, perfect example, 501 points, less than half of what Brian did, but he got 6 Stanley Cups with the Canadiens. So, and he was a 2-time Selke Trophy winner, like yourself, Poulin, in '87.
But he would be, along the Guy Carbonneau line, and when you name those guys, like a Bure or a Dion, what's really the first thing you think about with those guys? Guys, you think about an individual player, right? You think about individual talent and individual skill. Brian might be cursed a little bit because he was such a good team player.
Right.
It's almost like, and you think of our teams, we were seen as teams. We have one Hall of Famer from that group. That's Mark Howe.
Right.
And, are you, in a weird sort of way, as strange as this sounds, are you not looked at the same way because you were such a great team and a part of a great team? And, we pale in comparison to individual statistics of the teams we were playing against, but we were beating them. I mean, we were the end of, we ended the Islanders' run essentially by beating them in both '85 and '87 in the playoffs. Yeah. And, you forget that in '85, the Islanders had that phenomenal playoff string of 19 straight playoff series, 4 straight cups, and then losing in the finals in '84. Well, we beat them in the second round in '85. And so is Brian essentially looked at more collectively as, well, what a great team player he was. Well, of course he was. But he had the individual side of the game as well. And here's another ingredient, guys, that I think should come more into play. And that's the greater body of work. And, if you were to include Brian Propp's junior career, where he was essentially
outstanding.
He was voted the best left winger in the history of the Canadian Hockey League, which is unbelievable.
It's a travesty he's not in the Hall of Fame, and we're here in the locker room trying to push for it. Every Saturday we have this segment, Pulley, and we've spoken with Doug Crossman. We've had Mark Howe on and Jeff Harding and a few others. Scotty Mellenby. And you guys had such a great team. That '85 and '87 team, I'll never forget. And one of my favorite calls from Gene Hart is when you went in all alone. I think you guys were killing a penalty. And Gene Hart, Poulin shoots. I guess it was against Quebec, I think, right? With that great play. And, boy, I'll never forget that.
Well, we have to give Brian Propp some credit there, too, because he and I were killing the penalties. And he selfishly went ahead and took a penalty, so we were down 5-on-3 to give us my greatest moment as a Flyer. So Propp even gets an assist on that for being in the penalty box watching that one.
That's right. He got a good view. Absolutely. So, well, this is awesome. I mean, Poulin, you were a captain through the whole Pelle Lindbergh thing. You were, you got traded in 1990 to Boston, and Proper got traded like in March of that year, a little bit after you. And there's no coincidence that the two of you going to the Boston Bruins at that time, it took them to the finals. You could say what you want. They were a pretty good team at that point, but having two guys like yourself and Brian and the ability to play both ends of the ice and stuff like that, and the scoring ability, shorthanded ability, I mean, that's a reason why the Bruins, I think, went to the Stanley Cup Finals in '90.
Yeah, the shorthanded part was really fun when we got reunited in Boston because we were a little unorthodox the way we killed penalties. And, you know, in Philadelphia, we killed with Mark Howe and the dear departed Brad McCrimmon. And they were both so talented offensively that either one of those guys could go. And Brian taught me something on the penalty kill, and that was the offensive pressure that you exerted. So because we were such a threat offensively, and he had to do some convincing, rather than sit back on our heels, we were on our toes. And the minute the other team got a penalty, and I was told this many, many times over the years later, when they got a penalty and Poulin and Prop and Howe and McCrimmon were killing, the first words out of their mouth were, "We got to watch these guys." Well, think about that. They're on the power play. They're going to the man advantage, and the first words out of their mouth are, "We got to watch these guys."
Right.
So you've already done part of your job before the puck is even dropped.
Right.
And it was really Brian that, you know, that really ingrained in me. I was always a good penalty killer, but not with the offensive threat that we became, and we did become, because he really pushed me to do that.
Right. Well, Mark Howe mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we had him on the show, he said it was the greatest thing about being on the PK was having Brad McCrimmon as you know, my partner, and then having Poulin and Prop in front of me. He goes, we felt comfortable rushing the puck or doing things even though we were shorthanded. So, but hey, Poulin, we're kind of running out of time here. We super appreciate you coming on and talking about this stuff, and we would love to have you back to talk about your amazing career yourself, and I think that would be a great show in itself. Yeah,
Dave, we just enjoyed the memories that you created for us. One of my favorite players, and just remembering the years of, you know, between 83 and 88, 87, 88, that was just a great time in Flyers hockey. Really appreciate you having you on.
My pleasure, guys. Good luck with the campaign for Proper, and he's a deserving candidate for sure. And Billy, Scotty, always a pleasure to chat, and I look forward to joining you again.
Sounds good, Billy. Thanks, buddy. Okay, the Locker Room's push to get Brian Propp into the Hockey Hall of Fame is sponsored by Wolf Commercial Real Estate. They are a full-service commercial real estate brokerage and advisory firm specializing in office, retail, medical, industrial, and investment properties in southern New Jersey and the Philadelphia region. They provide a complete range of real estate services to commercial landlords, tenants, investors, developers, banks, commercial loan servicers, guided by their total commitment and their clients and their community. For all of your commercial real estate needs, please call WCRE at 856-857-6300. And Amoto Mio and La Finestra restaurants in Sea Isle City would like to thank all of its loyal customers during this tough pandemic time and welcome our customers to their outdoor dining. Call ahead for your reservations by going to their website, amotomioristorante.org. Also be on the lookout for their newest restaurant in Avalon, Il Posto, located at 2418 Dune Drive, opening soon. Once again, for more info, go to their website, amotomioristorante.org, for all their numbers and daily specials.
All right, so Dave Poulin appeared on the Barb's Harley-Davidson Sports Hotline. He's a great guest. Second hour of the Locker Room is brought to you by the Great Bay Country Club, where it's not just golf, it's fun. Make Great Bay Country Club your club. Great Bay is an award-winning private golf club where you are greeted by name. It's home of the 3-hour and 58-minute round. They're now accepting reservations for weddings, banquets, parties, all kind of special events. For more information, go to greatbay.com or call them at 609-927-5071. Great Bay Country Club in Summers Point, New Jersey. See why it's always a great day at Great Bay. When you get down there, say hello to Radio Ron Ralston for us. He's a great guy. Ocean City's real estate market is red hot. You need an agent that has the knowledge and expertise to help. Contact Ocean City's top agent, Mark Grimes. Mark has been selling real estate for 30 years in South Jersey. He can answer all your real estate questions and find you the perfect property. He's available anytime on his cell, 609-425-2042. When Philadelphia star athletes are looking for a house at the beach, they contact Mark Grimes, specializing in buying and selling vacation homes, single-family homes, condominiums, and duplexes. Mark Grimes, your agent at the beach. Give him a call right now, 609-425-2042, or check out his website at grimes.com. Hey, friends, let me tell you about Maserati, the main line located minutes from downtown Philadelphia. They offer a customer-focused car buying experience designed to exceed all expectations and invite you to stop in and learn about their entire line of premium luxury vehicles, including the sporty Ghibli midsize sedan and the class-defining all-new Levante, the only SUV worthy of being called a Maserati. Maserati, the main line, is a national leader in Maserati-certified pre-owned sales. The experience does not end at the point of a sale, as Maserati, the main line, offers free pickup and delivery for scheduled service appointments and provides new Maserati loaner cars. So add a little bit of flair to your next new vehicle. Contact our good buddy Michael Pileggi at Maserati, the main line, today at 484-804-4800. That's 484-804-4800, or visit them online anytime at motml.com. All right, when we return, we'll continue with more here in the locker room with Billy Schweim on 97.3 ESPN and the mobile app.